no confidence votes in the government, but ministers say that 100 opposition amendments were included in the final budget bill.
As residents in the hurricane-hit U.S. state of Florida continue to rebuild, they have another thing to worry about. Officials say that cases of flesh-eating bacteria are surging in the areas hardest hit by Hurricane Ian, including in Lee County, where the storm made landfall as a Category 4. Here's our U.S. correspondent, Tony Waterman.
Officials in Lee County say they've recorded 29 cases of the flesh-eating bacteria and 4 deaths. All but 2 of the infections were detected after Hurricane Ian made landfall late last month. Flesh-eating bacteria thrives in warm, brackish floodwaters, like that left behind by Ian's massive storm surge. The bacteria enter the body through open wounds and can lead to sepsis. The CDC says around 1 in 5 patients dies. Officials in Florida are urging residents to avoid any standing water.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today in more detail at the agreement struck last week between Lebanon and Israel over their maritime border. It is a very big deal given the hostile relationship that still exists between Beirut and Tel Aviv, and it secured the backing of Hezbollah, sworn enemies of Israel who hold considerable political sway in Lebanon. The agreement ends a long-running border dispute in the Mediterranean, as Stephen Cook with the New York-based Council on Foreign Relations explains.
There's a lot of gas in the Eastern Mediterranean, and there is a field that straddles both Israel and Lebanon. So what the Biden administration has done is help the Israelis and the Lebanese establish a maritime border. The land border remains disputed in a number of places. UN observers remain in place there, and it's a very heavily fortified border. Believe me, I've been up there. But there is an agreement between the state of Israel and Lebanon over what the maritime boundaries are.
There are some threats to the deal. The Israelis currently have no mechanism for ratifying it, and opposition leader Benjamin Netanyahu is threatening to scupper the deal if he wins the country's upcoming elections. On the Lebanese side, the country's economic crisis is intensifying, with some voices there also now opposing the agreement. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
Our main news again. UK Prime Minister Liz Truss has lost another member of her cabinet as she herself faces pressure to resign. The French Prime Minister has forced her government's budget bill through Parliament by deploying a rarely used special constitutional tool, a move which has angered opposition politicians. And officials say cases of flesh-eating bacteria are surging in the areas hardest hit in Florida by Hurricane Ian. That's the latest feature story news. Kate Fisher reporting.
The victims of a devastating tornado expressed gratitude that The Onion's 3-part series on the disaster was reported with fairness, accuracy, and an unusual degree of sensitivity. Survivors said they were at least thankful for one thing, that The Onion put much more care and insight into their reporting of the tragedy than any competing newspaper, by far. In economic news, a Pulitzer Prize would very much help certain newspapers increase their circulation, resulting in greater ad sales and more revenue to pay their tireless, hardworking reporters, all of whom have families at home to care for. In other headlines, a group known as Americans for Fairness in Awarding Journalism Prizes is asking all Americans to help The Onion receive a Pulitzer Prize. An anonymous man says he will murder 50 innocent people if The Onion is not awarded a Pulitzer. And look at it, it's beautiful. Look, just give us a Pulitzer already, okay? This is humiliating. For more prize-worthy stories and videos, go to theonion.com/review.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. The phones are open here, and you can join the show. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Ian, Bonnie, Conan here as we kick off the second hour. On the way here tonight, Bonnie wants to talk about Bill Gates is saying the energy crisis is a good thing. It's a good thing to pay 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 or more times as much for your energy bill.
Sounds like something a depopulationist would say.
Yeah, we'll see what he has to say for himself here in a little bit. Plus, cow gas. We will get into what that's all about Conan has that story as well. Again, phones are open here at 603-283-6160, and I got to give another apology to our radio listeners. We're trying to figure out what the hell's going on the internet here. I've tried multiple different routes so far, and something's broke out there. We apologize for the difficulties listening. Appreciate you guys being with us. So we've been talking about this situation here that we're experiencing in New England. I don't know how this is affecting the rest of the country. Would love to hear from you. Have you seen your electricity bills going up recently? If so, your local electric supplier may be relying on natural gas, or at least partially on natural gas, to generate their electricity. They're burning natural gas to spin a generator, and therefore can then provide electricity to people.
And coal, which also has to be transported either by rail or by boat.
But how much coal is coming in from other countries?
I think we're getting in New Hampshire. I think we're getting most of ours from like North Carolina or
West
something.
Virginia, right?
West Virginia.
Yeah, I don't know how much coal comes in off from other countries. That's an interesting question. But according to the story here, the Jones Act, which is a law that restricts the movement of ships between U.S. ports, and as I understand it, that's not clear about what it does. My understanding is the Jones Act prohibits international registered ships from shipping product domestically within the United States, meaning that you cannot hire a ship from anywhere outside of the United States to take a load of product from one U.S. state to another. You have to hire somebody who's registered their ship and therefore is paying taxes and is part of the good old boys here in the United States.
And probably all our ships that would be doing that, are traveling all the way over to Europe to make a profit.
Yeah.
They're being used elsewhere. But you know what? When you consider how many bureaucrats and how many people are arguing against the Jones Act, which I hadn't even heard of before tonight, I call scapegoat. This is exactly what government does when they break something. And they did. It's called the whole energy crisis that we're suffering through. Is through regulation and through shutting down pipelines and going to war, stuff that they caused, and they're scapegoating to something else that's easy to attack, some old law, and I don't think it has anything to do with anything. Jones, maybe it does, but not doubling my
biggest problem is Russia
energy costs.
Locking out the natural gas supply to Europe, which of course is coming from the sanctions that Europe and the U.S. are putting against Russia. So the big problem is the war, but we all know that's not going to stop.
Well, one thing I haven't had a update on for a long time is all of the ships that there weren't enough drivers and people working on the ships. Like, did that resolve itself?
Yeah, you mean the backlog of the ships out in
California?
Out west, out in California.
It's not just ships, it's rail, it's truckers. Everyone's having a hard time.
I don't know, Bonnie. That's an excellent question, and if you want to look into it, I'd be interested in hearing that answer.
Every time one of our truckers call in, our listeners out there on the big rigs, they're telling us how bad it is, especially in these shipping centers where the crates are backed up and where there's not enough people. And by the way, it's not just having people to work. It's a lot of it's union crap.
But you remember,
like can't work on Sundays and nonsense like that.
The L.A. port, for instance, they weren't working overnights. It wasn't a 24-hour port.
Right.
Joe Biden signed an executive order ordering them to go 24/7 last year.
Yeah, I remember that. Is that still happening?
I don't know. And that's the thing, Bonnie. This hasn't come back into the news, so I don't know what that means. At least we haven't seen it. And it seems like it's been at least a year since we talked about that story where there was like 60 to 100 something cargo ships that were just sitting there waiting their turn to unload their shipments from China or wherever into the Los Angeles port, and Long Beach, I think, was the other one. So yeah, I'd be very interested in knowing if that's still going on.
Well, I know as the last leg of the shipping operation, I am a courier. I deliver for Amazon and for the post office. I can tell you they can't find anyone to work for them. It is so hard. And I tell you what, and I work with a bunch of oldsters, bunch of folk who are about to retire, like in the next year or two. I tell you what, when the two guys I work with, when they retire, you ain't getting your toilet paper, your dog food, your whatever delivered to your home, because there's not going to be anyone.
Do they get pensions?
Post office
does.
I don't, but yeah, they do.
If they're full-time employees, they're going to get a pension.
If they're career employees, yes, absolutely. But I mean, they're not going to be here in the next couple of years, and when the boomers start retiring, and they've already started. It's going to be just like Japan went through when their boomer retirement problem. So yeah, the last leg, I can tell you that there is an absolute shipping problem in this country, and it's not just because of energy costs. It's because you have too many people who don't want to work because I don't know whether they're living at home in mommy's and daddy's basement, or I don't know, are they getting some check. It's a sad scenario that we're in, but I mean, Ian, you've said it a couple times this evening. You only think it hurts right now. Man, the pain is coming.
Yeah, it ain't over.
If you're a third world country, I mean, we're going to get by. We're going to survive. The U.S.
We're just going to have to pay more.
We're going to pay more. It's going to hurt. It's going to be a decade of pain. But if you're a third world country, man, they're going to starve to death. These poor folk. I'm telling you, it's coming.
This summer, as I said, the governors of New England requested that the federal government waive the Jones Act to allow for domestic liquid natural gas imports to the region. New England residents are facing some of their largest electricity bills in years and are likely to pay even more this winter because of higher gas prices. Utilities purchase electricity from generators on the wholesale market and recoup those costs from customers. The chief executive of Calpine Corp, which operates several plants in the region, said he expects fuel supplies this winter to be sufficient but expensive. The circumstances, he said, might warrant the need for the grid operator to implement stronger incentives for power producers to store or contract for firm supplies ahead of winter. He says the goal should be put in place a market mechanism that's actually durable for all but the most egregious situations. He said, New England's challenges are becoming more acute as older coal, oil, and nuclear-fueled generators close, leaving gas-fired ones to serve a greater percentage of demand. Since 2013, about 5,200 megawatts of that capacity has retired. It's just gone away. According to the New England ISO, an amount equal to roughly a quarter of peak winter demand. Some older plants risk closing faster than they can be replaced by renewable energy projects, which account for the majority of new capacity proposed for the region. So, just to recap that, the people who are pushing for the so-called green energy,
the people who act like they're the ones that have empathy for other people,
right, are unable to roll out their precious green energy projects fast enough to replace the shuttering old power plants that are just closing down, the generators that are closing down on these old systems, and they're not being replaced fast enough. And that was a problem that we saw in California, where the demand to push towards green has resulted in serious supply issues out there. It's just not able to handle the demand. The demand for energy is not able to be met by this green solution at this point.
By the way, chat has asked how I'm going to cope with this energy increase. I think I've already talked about it in the past, but I'll recap. I'm going to fill my fuel tank up because the price, I think, is about as low as it's going to get currently. My oil tank, that is. I'm going to fill all of my 5-gallon tanks outside, for regular gasoline for vehicles and for lawnmowers and the whole nine. And I'm shutting down my entire house except one room.
Oh, wow.
I got my cot, and I'm going to sleep in my computer / library /
You're camping in your own home.
Greenhouse.
Have you tried out the cot yet?
Yeah, it's nice.
Wow.
And I got some nice cushions and stuff for it too. So it's going to be cramped, but all the family's going to be in the
kitties.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are the cats going to live with you in there?
Yep.
Okay.
And yeah, that's how I roll.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be changing their habits.
They got to.
There's more here, a little bit more about this story, but it's not looking good here for this wintertime. Things are just getting rolling. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Bill Gates says the energy crisis is a good thing. We'll get his reasons for that coming up here in a moment.
His reason is he's a psychopath.
Yep.
Bonnie has the story, and you can share your thoughts as well here on Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can join the show here. All you got to do is dial in at 603-283-6160. We're talking about some of the ways the government has made... Well, they created the problem of high natural gas prices in the first place by supporting the invasion of, or rather supporting Ukraine in its fighting against Russia. That resulted in sanctions.
Instead of, hey, why don't you sit down with Russia and have some peace talks? Why don't you talk this through? Because you guys can... You could work this out.
No, instead
and Putin was saying he was open to it. It's not like it was like, well, Putin says he's not open to it, and we can't do that.
Well, the thing is, Putin wants what he wants, which is to say to take the territory on the eastern side of Ukraine, and the Ukrainian government doesn't want that, and so neither of them want to negotiate.
So it's worth destroying the whole world.
Well, thankfully that part hasn't happened yet, and hopefully it doesn't get to that point.
It won't.
I'm just saying it's... I didn't even mean nuclear war. I meant destroying everything, everybody's livelihoods.
It's destroying the economy, yes.
Yeah.
That's
true.
have to do that in order to build back better. And by the way, that's what this is all about.
What they believe.
That's what. No,
Yeah, I think so too.
That's what this is all about. Let's be square.
It's so silly. It's just so unnecessary that's just the only conclusion you can come to is that they want this to happen so that way they are the answer. They're breaking people's legs.
So they can hold out their golden crutches, give out their golden crutches, which is what this response to the energy crisis is right now, what they're discussing.
But they don't actually have a golden crutch. All they have is
excuses.
A load. Because
they have eating bugs and owning nothing and.
Well, whatever they're going to do is not going to make the problem better unless they undo the things that created it in the first place.
Well, it never makes the problem better. They just say that it's making the problem better. People end up being, oh, I guess this is better because I don't remember 10 minutes ago.
That's another big problem that human beings don't remember last Thursday. And so they're prone to repeating the same mistake over and over and over again and believing, if we switch from this party to this party, it'll all be better. If we get this new president, it'll all be better, but it never is.
That's all true. People do not understand that when the government hands out a check, says, oh, you guys are having a tough time buying gas. Oh, here's a check. We're going to make everything better.
Yeah, California is doing that.
I think we're getting New Hampshire is going to get $500 or something.
Wow, I didn't see that.
Who's going to get $500?
If you can apply and you have economic stress, you can get a $500 check. From New Hampshire? Well, good question. It's probably come from one of these federal stimulus bills.
But New Hampshire's handing it out? They're handing the money out? I see. So, that's what they're going to do here. That's their golden crutch, is to just print money into thin air and then send out checks to people as though that's going to make things better. And we know that doesn't make things better. That actually just extenuates the problem by increasing the money supply, and that is what the definition of inflation is. So there's no way, that's what I'm saying. The only way out of this is to undo the things they've done, would be to decide to stop supporting this Ukraine situation.
And printing money.
Stop having... not rations.
And handing out billions to the military-industrial complex and funding Big Pharma with experimental vaccines. All kinds of... We just keep going down the list of all the things they do that is wasteful and that is just causing a deepening hole that we're stuck in. And you're right. I mean, it's going to come down to food and electricity and no one be able to buy homes because of the real estate boom.
And a lot of the time,
there are so many.
Maybe a crash now.
Well, it has to be. I mean, have you seen real estate these days?
Oh yeah, we were just talking about it the other night. What, Bunny?
And a lot of times it's hard to figure out who's at fault when a lot of things are going wrong in the world. But one thing we can say that the United States could do right now is get rid of the sanctions on Russia.
Yep. That would be the smartest thing that both Europe and the U.S. could do.
And to treat them like allies, to do business with them.
And to take a neutral stance like Switzerland had done for so many decades.
A non-intervention stance.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not like any of us other than Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and his family have a huge stake in Ukraine.
Is that a coincidence, by the way?
I mean, the fact that Pelosi's boy, who's this Massachusetts guy that ran for president? His son was one of the not Burisma, but he was definitely had ties with Ukraine. Yeah, all of these guys are corrupt, and if you can't,
old boys,
the good old boys, and if you can't see that, you keep voting for them over and over, thinking that they're going to bring change and salvation.
It's just strange. No one ever talked about Ukraine. When I was a kid, and people once in a while would be like, "I'm French. What are you?" And I'd say, "Oh, I'm Ukrainian." Other little kids would be like, "I don't know what that is." And now it's nobody ever talked about it. And now people are like, "Oh, I care enough about this country that I think we should all pay more for gas." It's just weird.
Correct. The same people who didn't know what Ukraine was, that it was even a country 2 years ago, still can't point to it on a map right now, even though they know that we need to keep up sanctions with Russia in order to save good old Zelensky, who may or may not be real. Have you seen because he did a bunch of hologram work earlier this year. And so there's these green screen pictures floating around right now as we speak.
I've seen him in front of the green screen wearing his Death Star shirt or whatever it was.
Well, it's not just a green screen. He is surrounded by green screen and cameras all around him so that they can produce this hologram effect.
Oh, weird.
And
I haven't seen that.
And when you start to hear about all of the Hollywood stars who are actually giving their likenesses over to, I think Bruce Willis is one of them.
Yeah.
He's sold his rights.
He did.
to be a AI forever. Who's to say Zelensky didn't do the same thing? So that when they off him because he's a problem, wanting all this money, he's always coming out with his hand out. I need more billions. I need more billions. They're gonna off this dude, and he's gonna be a friggin' deep fake hologram come soon.
I don't know. They put him in the place though. I mean, wasn't it the CIA that set him up in the first place?
Who knows?
In 2014?
Maybe that was the purpose of all these buildings. There's a lot of buildings in different cities that are big circles, and maybe Ian will help me remember what the word for it was. It's like chronospheres or something like that. They're big.
You mean in Ukraine?
No, all over the world. And people, fake history.
You mean the Hadron Colliders?
I know. They're just like, they're told to be, this was a form of entertainment in the like early 1800s. It's a place where they would have a big picture of like some event like the crucifixion, and people would go there and they'd feel like they were surrounded by the whole picture and like they were really there. That sounds like BS to me. Why would anybody be that entertained by that to where we need one in every city? And I think it's a fake history.
It's a sort of escapism. It's just like it's the same reason people watch movies or listen to music or play video games.
I think it's fake. I think that those things did something else. And what you're describing was Zelensky being surrounded by green screens, maybe in the world before that,
Well, they were taking pictures of every angle of his face and body so that they can upload it to a program to...
I'm just saying maybe we had technology like that before.
I don't know. I mean, there's certainly no evidence that we know of for that, Bonnie, but that's, there's always a theory that aliens brought people here or something like that a long time ago, or there's a Stargate or whatever. Who knows? The number here,
Anunnaki. We were gold miners.
Oh, yep.
The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. So Bill Gates is saying that the energy crisis is a good thing, and I'm looking forward to hearing his pitch. Go ahead, convince me, Bill.
I already know where this is going.
Paying I
think all our listeners do as well. They know how this guy thinks.
Paying 5 times as much for energy is
always go back to that TED Talks. He came right out.
TED Talk?
Yeah, he did. And what was his discussion? The world is overpopulated, and I know how to fix overpopulation.
With
and
one
one of those is vaccines.
Yep.
Birth control and buying up all the farmland.
All right, we got more coming up here. The number is 603-283-6160. You can join us on the radio. It's Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. UK Prime Minister Liz Truss has lost another member of her cabinet as she herself faces pressure to resign. Suella Braverman's stepped down as Interior Minister over a security breach. Liz Truss is facing calls to quit after a mini-budget that spooked financial markets and a series of U-turns. Our UK correspondent Ollie Barrett reports.
Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, has resigned over the sending of an official document from her personal email. She has done so in a blistering resignation letter which criticises the government, particularly over migration policy. But Braverman's resignation comes just days after the Finance Minister, Kwasi Kwarteng, was moved aside following a mini-budget that spooked financial markets. Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper addressed the news in the House of Commons.
This is utter chaos.
There are plots very much underway in the Conservative Party to try and remove Liz Truss as leader, but a divided party is struggling to come up with a plan to move her aside and replace her that enough Conservative MPs could get behind.
The French Prime Minister has forced her government's budget bill through Parliament by deploying a rarely used special constitutional tool, a move which has angered opposition politicians. Ross Cullen reports from Paris.
The French government was forced into this manoeuvre using a special constitutional instrument to bypass Parliament because Emmanuel Macron's party doesn't have a majority of MPs in Parliament, therefore doesn't have enough votes to pass legislation in the traditional manner. The opposition say they are going to launch no confidence votes in the government, but ministers say that 100 opposition amendments were included in the final budget bill.
As residents in the hurricane-hit U.S. state of Florida continue to rebuild, they have another thing to worry about. Officials say that cases of flesh-eating bacteria are surging in the areas hardest hit by Hurricane Ian, including in Lee County, where the storm made landfall as a Category 4. Here's our U.S. correspondent, Tony Waterman.
Officials in Lee County say they've recorded 29 cases of the flesh-eating bacteria and 4 deaths. All but 2 of the infections were detected after Hurricane Ian made landfall late last month. Flesh-eating bacteria thrives in warm, brackish floodwaters, like that left behind by Ian's massive storm surge. The bacteria enter the body through open wounds and can lead to sepsis. The CDC says around 1 in 5 patients dies. Officials in Florida are urging residents to avoid any standing water.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. And, of course, you can join the show here. The number is 603-283-6160 if you want to bring up whatever happens to be on your mind here tonight. With you in the studio, it's Ian.
It's Bonnie.
And Conan.
Of course, you can bring up anything. That is the point of the program. You can also join us online over at freetalklive.com, where you can enjoy a lot of different features. They're completely free, including our chat server. It's a Matrix Chat, which means it's open source. It is self-hosted. It's federated, so it's connected with other Matrix servers all around the planet, and you get a lot more freedom to express yourself there. You can create your own chat room if you want to. Let's say the dozens of rooms that are there, almost all created by listeners, by the way, aren't good enough. There's not the topic you want to discuss isn't present. You can make your own room, and then other people might join it. You can go to chat.freetalklive.com to learn how to get on the server. That's chat.freetalklive.com. As we continue here with the program, Bonnie, you had a story. We've been talking about energy prices here tonight. They've been going up, and it doesn't look like there's an end in sight. It may be going up several times. If your energy is being provided by liquefied natural gas, the world market for that is paying a lot more ever since Russia has cut off Western Europe, and now there's more middlemen involved in the process of getting Europe energy, and so therefore they're paying 3, 4, 5, maybe even more times for
People
that.
are like draining their savings and closing their
Going
businesses.
out of business. Yeah.
Closing their businesses
A
down.
lot of businesses are going to go out of business. If they didn't go out during COVID, they're going to go out this winter.
But according to Bill Gates, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it might be good for mega corporations like Microsoft,
Bill Gates.
and
Bezos,
Amazon, and Walmart, and Target, because they're going to probably be able to weather the storm
And, kill off a bunch of competition.
That's the whole point. Yeah. So what does he have to say about this?
This is from Zero Hedge. It says, while people in Europe face the prospect of not being able to afford heat for their homes this winter and experiencing freezing dark blackouts, Bill Gates declared that in the long run, the energy crisis is a good thing.
Okay.
Quote, people did get a little optimistic about how quickly the transition could be done.
The transition.
Without the Russian natural gas being available in Europe, it's a setback, he says. We need to find non-Russian hydrocarbon sources to substitute for those, so there's coal plants running and a variety of things, because, keeping, people warm, keeping those economies in decent shape is a priority, but...
No, it's not. Fighting a war is the priority for the state. That's what their priority is,
but
obviously.
He continued, now, on the other hand, it's good for the long run, because people won't want to be dependent on Russian natural gas, so they'll move to these new approaches more rapidly, like his Breakthrough Energy Ventures Climate Technology, which is a carbon tax investment company.
That's his company?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's right in that whenever the government puts a barrier in front of the marketplace, they will, the marketplace will find ways around it. They will act to do the best they can to keep their prices as low as possible. But the government is putting artificial barriers out there that inevitably is going to raise the prices, even though the market's going to do things like try to build new pipelines and try to get new shipping lanes, open and try to build new relationships for energy sourcing. It's going to take time, and the government has made this harder.
Well, Gates published a State of the Energy Transition Tuesday. I don't know why he thinks he gets to,
He's the expert.
Yeah. Declaring that it should be the responsibility of countries such as the United States, which have prospered from burning fossil fuels, to move to completely decarbonize all sectors of the economy. He writes, many countries in Europe and North America fill the atmosphere with carbon to achieve prosperity, and it's both unrealistic and unfair to expect everyone else to forego a more comfortable life because that carbon turned out into climate change.
Who cares about climate change? It's inevitable that it's going to change. That is what happens. Change is the only constant in life. There's always change in every aspect of our lives, including the earth.
Do you know the other power options that he's talking about?
The solar and hydro, or
how
what?
Bill Gates' company TerraPower is building next generation nuclear power.
Wow, interesting.
From 2021, he invested in this company, and I'm assuming he's probably buying out others or creating them.
So what's different that they're trying to do with nuclear? Does it say?
Yeah, I think it's just regular old nuclear.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, I mean, if that's the case,
because we know here, just the little guys at the end of the rope, we know that wind and solar won't cut it.
No.
We know that these electric cars aren't cutting it. They're bursting into flames and burning homes down. They're running out of their lifespan is 10 years, and then you have to buy a brand spanking new battery,
and that's a lot of money.
And not to mention the environmental effects of digging up all that cobalt.
Mm-hmm.
No, he knows where it's at. We know he's a smart guy. He might be a demon with man boobs, but we know he's a smart guy. We know Elon Musk is also a weird looking dude, and he's very smart.
Well, if Bill Gates wants to be the only one building a bunch of nuclear power while other people are not allowed to build their new nuclear power plants, then we're all dependent on Bill Gates.
That would be a problem.
Well, but I mean, he loves the fact that the fossil fuel industry is having the problems that they're having, because now
Bill Gates to the rescue.
He can step in.
Yeah.
He's got the vaccines, he's got the agriculture, he's got Monsanto, and now he's got your electric.
And he does have a plan. It says, Gates also writes, I don't think the market by itself can press reset on an entire economy in just a few decades, adding, we need a plan to speed the process up.
Uh-oh. Central plan.
The plan is to build back better. The plan is to break the system down so that he can come in and save the day.
Well, I don't know what he means when he says the market's not going to be able to build. What was it? Press reset and build back up what?
He might be talking about the government needs to step in and subsidize.
That's definitely what he's talking
create
about.
regulations in order, because the free market's. He's saying the free market is not capable of fixing this problem.
Yeah, he just says, I don't think the market by itself can press reset on an entire economy in just a few decades. We need a plan to speed the process up.
Yeah, see, I don't even know what he's talking about on an entire economy in just a few decades.
I don't know, maybe he's saying it's too...
The market can do amazing things if it's actually free to operate, and it's not. In fact, one of the least free sectors of the market is energy production. It's one of the most highly regulated, next to healthcare probably, it's one of the most highly regulated sectors. There's a very limited amount of suppliers. They're limited by government licensing and restrictions. You can only choose usually from one power company in your area, and that's all you get. And it's thanks to government. They're the ones who did this.
Here's a more recent article on the TerraPower. Bill Gates' nuclear innovation company TerraPower announced Monday, that was in July of this year, it has secured at least $750 million in new funding. The funding was co-led by Gates, and S. Key Gates is the founder. Who is S. Key Gates?
I don't know.
One of his kids or something?
Could be.
is the founder.
Didn't he have a divorce with his wife?
Yeah,
recently?
but he's got a bunch of kids,
I
right?
understand. So it's probably not her. What's her name? Melinda?
Yeah, Melinda Gates.
Yeah. Melinda.
How do you spell key?
Belinda, which is the S-Key, one of South Korea's largest energy provider. Oh, it's a S-Key Gates is a friggin' company in South Korea.
Okay.
They invested $250 million. The money will be used to develop nuclear energy technology and innovations in nuclear medicine, according to a statement from TerraPower. Quote, whether it's addressing climate change with carbon-free advanced nuclear energy or fighting cancer with nuclear isotopes, our team is deploying technology solutions and investors across the world, and they're taking note, Chris Levesque, the CEO of TerraPower, said in a statement. So they're going to town. They've stepped in.
Mm-hmm.
This is only from July. They've got pictures of their of their facility here.
Is it going to make energy any cheaper, or is it just going to drive more money into Bill Gates' pocket?
It's all about the competition. If he's the only provider, he can charge whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm. Or he can charge just less than what the natural gas will
and
cost,
sell us our food because he owns all the seeds
farmland
and the farmland.
The number here, if you want to join in, it's 603-283-6160. Bring up whatever you want to discuss. That's 603-283-6160. Is there more from Bill Gates, Bonnie? Okay, so we can also talk about cow gas.
Cow farts.
Cow farts, cow breath, cow burps. All of that is on the way, and you can share your thoughts as well. The number is 603-283-6160. Apparently, according to the Greenies, cows are the enemy. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
When you got your health, I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. Have you seen the TV commercials for GoodRx? It's a website and app that comparison shops for prescription meds. One catch, it only works if you're paying without insurance. My pal Larry doesn't go to a dentist. He lets university dental students hone their clinical repertoire on him. Yes, it is less expensive, and insurance still covers it. One trade-off he's quick to add: plan on spending the whole morning there because students' work is so closely supervised. Because it's a university, he figures he's getting state-of-the-art care. And when I asked about rookie mistakes, Larry said, the students are gentle. Just don't let the faculty in there. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can join the show here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
It's Bonnie.
And Conan.
You can join us online anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com. Enjoy the features we have there for you. And I got to apologize again to our poor radio listeners tonight. Normally, y'all get some really great quality from Free Talk Live, and tonight is the rare exception to that rule. Hopefully, the internet problems are going to be cleared up tomorrow. We don't know where it's happening. It's gotten so bad. It's actually gotten worse over the course of the show. So I literally had to connect a phone line to our network uplink.
Is there maybe some huge storm in the U.S. affecting one of the router hubs or something? Or
I don't know. I couldn't make it work on the internet, so we're literally on a phone quality right now. You're listening to
everyone on the radio. Or?
Everybody on the radio tonight is listening to us as though we are over a phone line. It's really going to be bad. So anyway, it's better, I guess, to not have a bunch of breaking up and jitter and terrible internet connection quality. So anyway, here we are. We're here. We're going to continue with the show. I'd rather have a live show than go to some sort of a refeed or something like that. Of course, you can always listen online at freetalklive.com. I presume that's working. I don't even know. I haven't even had a chance to check it out. The number is 603-283-6160. And Bullion Max, I got to say, they've come out with something that I'm really surprised with and happy to see. So this week, Goldback announced the first ever Silverback.
Just the one with the dragon on it?
The dragon on it. You've seen it.
I saw it last night. I actually put 5 votes into it to get one.
Yeah, I put some in too. So what are these things? Well, we've talked a lot about the Goldback. They're beautiful, interchangeable gold money that you can carry in your wallet. It's made of real gold. I do it. I carry it in my wallet. I use them at local businesses that accept the Goldback. I've paid individuals with them for various different services and products. I'm a huge fan of the Goldback. But one of the biggest questions has been, well, how come there's not a Silverback?
Well, I'm a little confused. What's so great about a Silverback when silver is already pretty divisible? That's my question. Like, a little coin of silver isn't like $100, is it? It's already pretty
1 ounce of
divisible.
silver is, I think, around $20 right now.
Well, you have a 20 in your pocket, you might have 100 in your pocket, and you might have a $1 piece in your pocket. So silver is just a smaller denomination to work with.
But how small is this going to be? Isn't this going to be like less than $1?
Yeah, that's the problem with this, Bonnie, is it doesn't work economically. So what has happened is...
You have to use calculators.
No, it just doesn't work at all. So I'll explain that here. So the Goldback, the smallest division of the Goldback is 1/1000th of an ounce of gold right now. They're retailing for about $3.50 or $3.70. Some sellers are selling them higher than that, but that's like the lower end is $3.50 is what you'll pay for a Goldback right now. 1/1000th of an ounce of silver would be like 2 cents. Right?
Yeah, I heard that today, so I was like, wow, what is the point of that? It's not like we need a bunch of 2-pence pieces.
Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense because the manufacturing process to manufacture the Goldback is fairly costly.
It's going to be expensive, yeah.
Yeah, it's fairly costly. So it just doesn't make any sense to have a Silverback right now. But when you go to the Goldback website and you look at their news section, it tells you all about this project and why it was done. And it was done as more of a proof of concept. Like, Can you make a silverback? Can it look as nice as the goldback? Can it be at least close in usability and quality?
So why don't they just pump up the silver content and go to town?
It doesn't help though, Conan. Think about this.
It'll be too thick, and it wouldn't be.
Yeah, it'd be too thick. It wouldn't be worth much. So
do coins.
Well, they don't do coins at Goldback. You'd already get a ton of silver coins. So
yeah, I know.
Just go get some silver coins. So if you think about this, Conan, the highest denomination of the Goldback is the 50, which is 50 1,000ths of an ounce. So there's 20 of those in an ounce, right? So you have 1/20th of an ounce. That is the thickest, largest, most not so, it's like the least usable because you can't really easily put it in your wallet. It's really thick and not easy. You can't fold it easily or bend it easily. Usually people want to use the 1s, the 5s, the 10s, maybe the 25s on some things. So if you had 1/20th of an ounce of silver, and I did just pull a silver price for today, according to Monex, is $18.47 per ounce. So let's just round up and call it $20 per ounce of silver. If you took 1/20th of that, so 1/10 would be $2, right? So 1/20th would be $1. That the equivalent of the 50, the thickness, the toughness, the unfoldability,
even the largeness, because it's got to be bigger.
Be huge.
Yeah,
it'd be huge. Would only be $1 worth of silver.
So why are they even doing this?
That's what I was confused.
Unless it's some kind of a scheme.
No. So that's what you didn't let me get to.
It is beautiful.
It's a
it looks
proof
good.
Of concept. So the idea is the silver bugs believe that silver's going to go up dramatically, right? The true believers in silver, and whether this will ever happen or not, I don't know. But that's what the silver bugs believe. They think, and I think I've heard this somewhere, that silver's supply is actually lower than gold. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that rumor.
Not sure.
Silver is, of course, incredibly useful in various different industrial applications. So the argument is that silver should be on par with or somewhere closer to gold's price, or maybe even higher than gold's price. Why it's so cheap by comparison?
Don't know.
I don't know.
Hey, all I know is I don't even throw real copper pennies away anymore.
But the theory is,
so I'm already there. I'm waiting for real, authentic copper pennies to be worth something sometime in the future.
Yeah. So the theory is that silver bugs believe that silver's going to go up dramatically in price. If that happens, then it will become economically feasible to actually make the silverback at a large, quantity and, with volume and all that, and then it'll be doable, and then it'll be fine to have this product.
I hope they stick to dragons if they do, because I think that's cool.
It's pretty cool. So the idea was they were just going to do this as a proof of, hey, it can be done. We've done it. Here's how you do it. We can do this in the future if it becomes economically feasible. One of the things that they said they had to figure out was how to stop the silver from tarnishing. Because I guess that's a problem.
Well, I mean, it'd be green like a dollar, right? That might look all right.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like people.
Here's my
really
next
want
question.
that.
The reason I said scheme is because what are they going to charge for these? If they're only 2 cents, and they're charging $2 for one,
they're not for sale. They're being given away exclusively on Bullion Max
in exchange for your email.
Right. They want to know who you are, and they're going to contact you.
And your phone number.
You can make a new email.
You can go to not Goldback. You can go to bullionmax.com/FTL. That's actually going to take you to a new page where you can buy their 5-ounce silver starter kit, which we've talked about before. You get a pretty great price on that. You get their employee rates, basically. And a bonus single Goldback. They're going to throw that into the 5-ounce silver starter kit. When you go to the page, if you're scrolling on it for 10 seconds or something like that, the silverback offer is going to pop up, and that's where you can give them your email address and you enter in there, and then you have a chance to win one of 10,000 of these gorgeous looking silverbacks. I don't have one. I can't tell you beyond what I've seen on the internet how this looks.
Yeah, but you have seen the Goldbacks.
And the photos of the Goldbacks don't do them justice. You've got to have it in your hand to really be able to appreciate this.
I really hope somebody we know wins them, because I want to see it in person.
Me too. So,
I love silver coins. I love dropping them. They make such a nice noise.
They sound great. This won't have it because it's going to be encased in plastic, but it will be gorgeous, I'm sure. The artwork looks amazing. See it for yourself. You can go. Also, I posted about it the other day on our social media. If you go to social.freetalklive.com, and if you're following the @FTL account, just scroll back to yesterday, I think is when I posted. You can see the image of it there. And it's awesome. You can get it at bullionmax.com/FTL. Just float down the page and float back up or whatever, and the little pop-up should come up to let you enter.
Last segment, Bonnie was trying to explain some type of cylindrical building with what? Paintings on the walls, and so it looked like you were in a 3D situation.
Yeah, it's also like a diorama, like if they did
panorama.
Yeah. Well, also diorama kind of, but big. Like if you were it's supposed to be in one that was supposed to be the crucifix, like there'd be the cross in there and stuff, like statues and sculptures and things like that. The word I was looking for was cyclorama.
So it's a 360 panorama. And they go in these buildings, and I guess it was their form of escapism back, back in the day.
Early 1900s, late 1800s. I don't buy it, though.
That's
why I brought
you
it
don't
up.
buy it?
I just don't think that was a thing. And there are plenty
But didn't these things exist?
There's one.
Allegedly.
Right, well, in 1909, there was according to Wikipedia, there was the Battle of Gettysburg cyclorama in Alaska Yukon Pacific exhibition. Yeah, you're right. I have never been in one of these before.
Mm-hmm. I've never heard of one
Why
before.
don't they exist anymore? We have, like Conan said, we have movies, we have the internet, but we also have museums, and I've never seen one in a museum.
It's a good point.
But these are huge, aren't they?
They don't have to be. They could be like a little. They could be like a little closet.
If you look into the history of lots of different buildings from this specific time period in the United States, I don't buy a lot of it. Like, oh, we just built things really ornately and beautifully, and then we just stopped, or like that. A lot of it doesn't add up. If you look into your town, look for things that look like cycloramas, a lot of them will have a different story. Like, oh, this was like in San Antonio, there's one in the Pearl, and supposedly it was a horse stable, and it's shaped just like a cyclorama.
Atlanta.
You got to take her to one now.
There's an 18,000 square foot cyclorama in Atlanta right now. More coming up here in moments. It's Free Talk Live. Inflation, a sidelined labor force, and ever-increasing interest rates. It's the perfect storm for pushing the U.S. economy over the edge. Savvy investors are diversifying into gold and silver with BullionMax.com. You can buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals will ship fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live listeners can now order one of BullionMax's most popular products, the Goldback. Now in stock, but supplies are going fast. To get your Goldbacks, go to BullionMax.com/FTL.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com. There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. UK Prime Minister Liz Truss has lost another member of her cabinet as she herself faces pressure to resign. Suella Braverman's stepped down as Interior Minister over a security breach. Liz Truss is facing calls to quit after a mini-budget that spooked financial markets and a series of U-turns. Our UK correspondent Ollie Barrett reports.
Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, has resigned over the sending of an official document from her personal email. She has done so in a blistering resignation letter which criticises the government, particularly over migration policy. But Braverman's resignation comes just days after the Finance Minister, Kwasi Kwarteng, was moved aside following a mini-budget that spooked financial markets. Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper addressed the news in the House of Commons.
This is utter chaos.
There are plots very much underway in the Conservative Party to try and remove Liz Truss as leader, but a divided party is struggling to come up with a plan to move her aside and replace her that enough Conservative MPs could get behind.
The French Prime Minister has forced her government's budget bill through Parliament by deploying a rarely used special constitutional tool, a move which has angered opposition politicians. Ross Cullen reports from Paris.
The French government was forced into this manoeuvre using a special constitutional instrument to bypass Parliament because Emmanuel Macron's party doesn't have a majority of MPs in Parliament, therefore doesn't have enough votes to pass legislation in the traditional manner. The opposition say they are going to launch no confidence votes in the government, but ministers say that 100 opposition amendments were included in the final budget bill.
As residents in the hurricane-hit US state of Florida continue to rebuild, they have another thing to worry about. Officials say that cases of flesh-eating bacteria are surging in the areas hardest hit by Hurricane Ian, including in Lee County, where the storm made landfall as a Category 4. Here's our US correspondent, Tony Waterman.
Officials in Lee County say they've recorded 29 cases of the flesh-eating bacteria and 4 deaths. All but 2 of the infections were detected after Hurricane Ian made landfall late last month. Flesh-eating bacteria thrives in warm, brackish floodwaters, like that left behind by Ian's massive storm surge. The bacteria enter the body through open wounds and can lead to sepsis. The CDC says around 1 in 5 patients dies. Officials in Florida are urging residents to avoid any standing water.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today in more detail at the agreement struck last week between Lebanon and Israel over their maritime border. It is a very big deal given the hostile relationship that still exists between Beirut and Tel Aviv, and it secured the backing of Hezbollah, sworn enemies of Israel who hold considerable political sway in Lebanon. The agreement ends a long-running border dispute in the Mediterranean, as Stephen Cook with the New York-based Council on Foreign Relations explains.
There's a lot of gas in the Eastern Mediterranean, and there is a field that straddles both Israel and Lebanon. So what the Biden administration has done is help the Israelis and the Lebanese establish a maritime border. The land border remains disputed in a number of places. UN observers remain in place there, and it's a very heavily fortified border. Believe me, I've been up there. But there is an agreement between the state of Israel and Lebanon over what the maritime boundaries are.
There are some threats to the deal. The Israelis currently have no mechanism for ratifying it, and opposition leader Benjamin Netanyahu is threatening to scupper the deal if he wins the country's upcoming elections. On the Lebanese side, the country's economic crisis is intensifying, with some voices there also now opposing the agreement. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
Our main news again. UK Prime Minister Liz Truss has lost another member of her cabinet as she herself faces pressure to resign. The French Prime Minister has forced her government's budget bill through Parliament by deploying a rarely used special constitutional tool, a move which has angered opposition politicians. And officials say cases of flesh-eating bacteria are surging in the areas hardest hit in Florida by Hurricane Ian. That's the latest feature story news. Kate Fisher reporting.
The new Netflix Gas lets users instantly inhale multiple seasons of TV shows. An area man is worried the nation's healthcare debate might be getting political, and a bullied 8th grader incorrectly thought classmates would leave him alone during a field trip to the 9/11 memorial. Don't mistake my kind, gentle tone for one of love or support. This is the Onion Week in Review. According to a report released this Tuesday, no one, absolutely no one, will ever stack up to your 8th grade boyfriend, Brian Bowden, who you dated for 6 weeks in middle school. A 43-page study from Stanford University confirmed that no other guy in your life will ever be as kind or caring as the 13-year-old who held your hand during the scary parts of Jurassic Park, who had that really cool chain wallet, and who bought you 2 pink carnations on Valentine's Day. The report added that while your current boyfriend does have a lot going for him, he will certainly never cut class with you to listen to the dead Kennedy's Frankenchrist on a Sony Discman. Brian used to do that with you. He used to do it all the time.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. Bring up anything you want. That's 603-283-6160. We still have to talk about the cow farts coming up here in a few moments. With you in the studio, it's Ian.
It's Bonnie.
And Conan.
And you can join us online anytime you want. Just go to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features that we have for you there. That, again, is freetalklive.com. We're going to go to your phone calls first, though, before we get into the cow farts. First, we got Larry in Indianapolis. Go ahead, Larry.
How you doing, Mark and Ian?
Mark's not here, but we got Ian, Bonnie, and Conan tonight.
Well, you know something, what we're talking about now with the food and everything, people are overlooking the fact that water is the most essential resource that's being polluted now. And also, you're being forced to lug bottles of water into your house every week if you don't want to drink water that's full of grease.
Larry, I don't even trust that water.
Yeah, then it's full of grease in the form of plastic.
In the form of fluoride, in the form of all kinds of nonsense, chlorine.
Yep.
Yeah, what are you going to do? I tried to get a well done on my property, $6,000. I'm saving up for it, but then you never know.
Yeah, and if you live in the city, you can't even do that. If I wanted to put a well in my backyard, living as close to the city as I do, nope, not going to happen. You got city water. That's it. You're going to have to drink our in good news here in Keene, they don't fluoridate the water.
And you can always, reverse osmosis the whole house.
I absolutely recommend everyone out there, if you've got city water or even well water, get you one of those reverse osmosis filters. You put it right under your sink. Makes that water taste like it came right out of the spring.
I got one more thing for you guys. I have here a U.S. 1957 August 19th U.S. News and World Report. Now they were dealing with inflation at that time. You know how they got it under control. They cut the defense budget over $4 billion out of a $40 billion budget. And
it was only $40 billion back then? Wow, the good old days.
$40 billion. But now
and they can cut $4 billion?
Yeah, they cut $4
So that's
billion,
that's 10%. If you imagine they did that today out of $800 billion, $80 billion cut.
We're getting a con job done on us by the Armenians or whoever they are. They're doing a con job every time 2 people die. They get another $3 or $4 billion. So I don't know what's going on in the country. I hadn't called you guys for a while, but we are being duped and just disgraced. So I don't know. I hope people change the situation.
We are being duped. War is a racket.
Yeah, well, it's a poverty pimps too, because I was at the city council meeting where they were passing out the public safety grants for all the poverty pimps that came down there that claim they can stop all the killing that's going on here in my city.
What is a poverty pimp?
A poverty pimp is the churches now that they've ran out of pimp juice. They got to go down and get with the politicians to get money to pay their mortgages and stuff. And here in Indianapolis, they had a church building boom back in the 80s and 90s, right? Mm-hmm. And had their congregation mortgaging their homes and everything. Now they're tearing the churches down because people don't want to come in there and listen to their garbage anymore. So it's just a revolving thing.
But you're
with the
saying
poverty
churches
thing.
are getting taxpayer handouts from politicians?
Well, they're trying to go and beg because their congregation done ran out of money and they can't get any more money. So they're down to city council talking about they can stop the murder rate from going high. They can do all this and do that, but they can't do nothing.
Wait. Is it because these churches are taking in like homeless people or something and providing for them? Is that their argument? Maybe.
No, they're not. They're out in the street talking about the crime and talking about gun violence.
But you're saying, just to clarify what you're saying they're trying to get the politicians to give them taxpayer dollars?
They give them taxpayer dollars to stop gun violence.
What is this? What is your city?
Indianapolis.
It's Indianapolis. Just look at last night's Monday night city council. The poverty pimps were lined up. They're embarrassed and now. But I had a sign that said, "Get rid of poverty pimps. Get rid of poverty." And they were kind of mad at me because they're colored preachers, right? But I don't care about that. I'm colored myself.
Well, the only way you're going to get rid of poverty is if you actually get rid of the state and allow people to create wealth for themselves.
Actually, you're never going to get rid of poverty. There's always going to be poor people. There's always going to be rich people.
There's always going to be, by comparison, less wealthy people. That's true. But the reason why poverty exists the way it does is because people who are poor are forbidden from starting businesses for themselves. They're forbidden from being entrepreneurs.
If they're legal, they're just forbidden from working without having a fake social security number.
Or they're systemically brought up from a very young age to embrace poverty because that's how they get that check. And if they make another couple dollars an hour at the Walmart or wherever they work, they might lose that bracket that they're a part of to get that check. And now what's the purpose?
So the government incentivizes people to stay poor.
Absolutely.
You think you're better than me.
I'm glad that the poverty pimps are running out of pimp juice because it's really comical to watch them scuffle and shake when they can't pay the mortgages on these big old churches that they built. And now in one part of town, they're tearing down all these churches they built in the 80s and 90s because when they had COVID, they proved to be apostates. And we had a health director here in the town who told them if they go into their pulpits, they're exposing their congregation to death. You know, it was a death chamber,
and we know that was a joke.
Still let her come around.
Larry, what did the city tell these pimps? They tell them to take a walk, take a hike?
Well, what happened is they were mad because it was supposed to be $3 million, right? And they cut it in half, and all the groups that got money was the well-established white 501c3s.
What was $3 million?
There was $3 million, the crime prevention grants.
So they actually did get money. The churches did.
They didn't get nothing.
Well, who got the money? Who got the $1.5 million?
The white people. This organization named CHIPS that deals with the
CHIPS.
homeless. With the homeless initiative. What they do is when there's a big event here in our town, which we're a convention town, they put all the homeless people out by the airport and hotels. They use that money for that. Otherwise, the homeless.
So all the tourists, all the out-of-staters and out-of-cityers don't see the problem. That only makes it. They do this. They do the same thing when the Olympics come to town.
Clean up the streets. And dump them back out. Coalition for Homelessness, Intervention, and Prevention is what CHIP stands for.
That's what it is. And I remember when they established it. But what they do is they try to get these homeless people. They have a federal ID number, right? And they get all the benefits they can from the federal government and sell all the dope they can. You know what I'm talking about, the pharmaceuticals. Because many years ago, some politician, a colored man, he had a piece of legislation when he was head of the Ways and Means over the State House, wherein they set up a clinic in the community where the junkie could come and get his dope and then stay at large, right? So that's what we got here in Indianapolis, and I'm sure it's pervasive, but thing about it is what they done is these poverty pimps, they got all their junkies lined up. The city came along and set their own group up and snatched all of their junkies away from them and now they out there mad too.
So you're saying Indianapolis has injection rooms, heroin injection rooms?
Well, what they have is they have areas you can go and get your Narcan, and you can come in and get clean needles, and they got this thing called city safe feeding stations, right? Because people were giving out food to homeless people. Well, I testified against that because I said, if you're saying city safe, that means the city's liable for what these people are doing. What if some benevolent person gets the urge to kill up a bunch of homeless people and put poison in their food? What's going to happen?
Larry, thanks for the call tonight. Appreciate hearing from you. The number is 603-283-6160. You can bring up anything you want.
That's a good argument for not feeding the poor. If you're going to put the label city safe on it, and then someone gets sick, even if the city didn't actually provide the food, and then this knucklehead turns around and sues the city, which is the city, the people, the taxpayers.
Yeah, the taxpayers are going to be on the hook.
Makes good sense, I guess.
There's more coming up. Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorcFest. ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. forkfest.party. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. The phones are open. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian.
It's Bonnie.
And Conan.
Join us online at freetalklive.com. Enjoy the features there. They are for free. Once again, that's freetalklive.com. Coming up in June of next year, Fork Fest is back. The 7th annual Fork Fest happening at Rogers Campground. It's the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. And it's going to be back to the old days for Fork Fest, where we're going to have it before the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which, by the way, that event, the Pork Fest, was a sellout in 2022 and 2021. So they're expecting Pork Fest to sell out again next year. If you are planning to attend both of these events, you ought to get your Porcupine Freedom Festival tickets as soon as possible, because that event is going to likely sell out, and then you're going to have to get your tickets on the secondary market, and you may be paying more at that point. Get your campground spot reserved. You can get a camping site, an RV site, or a motel room with Rogers Campground for Fork Fest. It's June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. The Porcupine Freedom Festival will follow after the 18th, starts on the 19th, and goes for a week. So you can, if you want, come on up and spend 10 or 11 days up here in New Hampshire, meeting many people who are in the Liberty community here, and hopefully having a really great time at the beautiful Rogers Campground. Go to forkfest.party, and you can learn more there and connect with more of the attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms and such. Also the Forkfest forum. That's forkfest.party. We go to Sarah. She's in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live, Sarah. Sarah?
So we now have what we call a noise camera, and that can result in tickets.
And what does that mean, a noise camera?
So it registers the noise of your cars, whether you're speeding or you're playing boombox music, and then...
Yeah, but stop. Sarah, how can a camera is visual?
It has a microphone on it, probably.
So it's not a noise camera. It's what does she call it?
She's calling it a noise camera.
Well, maybe because it has a camera to check whose license plate it is to dish out the tickets, but
right.
So why does it have why does it have an audio recording option? What does that do? What are they looking for?
She's saying they want to bust people for having their music up too loud.
Well, also some people's exhaust makes too much noise, apparently.
Well, and by the way, these people, there's a whole South Park episode about these guys.
The exhaust people?
Yeah. The revers, especially the motorcycle revers. I'm not going to say anything else up on the air.
Okay.
Yeah, those guys. And then we got Albuquerque, we got a boombox people, the ghetto blasters out of their cars. They drive around Friday and Saturday night, all downtown, just blowing everybody's. They pretty much blow the blocks down. You know, it's kind of like a tradition here. They got the low rider cars.
So is that illegal? It's illegal to have some tunes cranked up at nighttime?
But it has to reach a certain decibel.
Mm-hmm.
It gets to a point where they just become a nuisance. You know what I mean? You got I guess revving up their phone.
Well, one man's nuisance is another man's party, Sarah.
It always annoys me when a car drives past my house, playing really loud, annoying music. But it's just a temporary thing. If they were sitting outside my house, then I might make a man from my house go over there and be like, what are you doing?
Ian, get out there.
Yeah, I wouldn't go up there, but I'm just saying, I'd get somebody to go out there and be like, what are you doing? Why are you sitting outside my house blasting rap music or whatever? But, it's like a 30-second ordeal.
Sarah, why instead of spending all this money on audio recorded video cameras, why don't they just send a cop out there? These guys are just sitting, I'm taking it, they're just sitting there, probably drinking, doing everything, having what? A tailgate party right there on the road. Why don't they just send a cop out there if this is really such a problem?
So do you think a cop would spend 5 hours at 3 o'clock in the morning waiting for the drag racers?
What else are they doing?
One time in the morning?
Otherwise, the same cop is sitting behind a shrub handing out speeding tickets.
Well, I mean, we don't have any officers. We have hard time hiring security officers.
Oh, that's
police.
good.
We have a shortage. That's the reason why we have the RoboCops. I call these the RoboCops that have to take over the speeding cameras.
Wait, you're calling for robot cops now?
Well, I call these guys the RoboCops because they detect the noise and then they give out a ticket by taking a picture. Because
how are they going to determine if there's more than one car on the road? How are they going to know just by simply looking at the road or listening to a microphone on a camera?
Yeah, this sounds like it could be easily fought in court.
Yeah, it does. It does. But most people don't fight in court. Thank you, Sarah, for the call tonight. Appreciate it. The number here is 603-283-6160.
By the way, I don't want these cameras to be instilled anywhere in the country, but you know what? One of my absolute dislikes are these people.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially the motorcycle revvers.
That's what I was going to say is the worst. Because it freaks my dog out. My dog acts like he's going to have a seizure even if he's in the car and there's a motorcycle rever by us. Like, it's so loud. It doesn't make you cool. It makes you an absolute loser.
Well, there is a meme that these people are a part of a particular group. They're mostly dudes. And they probably have tiny little dinghies.
Small something, yeah.
and they're making up for their loss.
And truck people do the same thing, like people who smoke other people out. Have you seen that?
Like with burning the tires?
Well, no, it's not the tires. It's like exhaust.
Oh,
like I used to have a roommate.
That's really obnoxious.
It was
they're doing it on purpose, or they're just driving an old clunker?
I used to have a roommate, and it'd be so embarrassing. I was always afraid we'd get in a fight with somebody if I had to ride somewhere with him. He'd be smoking the people behind us for no reason, and it's so redneck.
Do they have a button that they press?
No, you have to do something to your car a certain way. Like you start it, you make it start going without actually pressing it in drive, and then you put it in drive. I'm not a redneck.
I've never heard of this.
I've seen big ass trucks that seem to be doing it on purpose. That seem to have a way.
I thought they just were driving an old clunker around.
No, I think Bonnie's right. I think
they'll have bumper stickers that say smoke you later, or it's just stupid things like that.
And they probably also have testicles hanging off the back of their hitch, their tail hitch.
That is about as tacky.
All those people.
That is as tacky as you can
get.
You
people need to stop it.
And you know what else is ghetto, and I hate it, and it's just poor activities is rednecks who fly around the highway and weave in between other cars and get somewhere 30 seconds faster. It's the stupidest thing. It doesn't make you cool. It makes you...
Usually it's not even 30 seconds. It's 2 seconds or 5 or something like that.
And usually you make everyone you just pass like a flying demon. You make them slow down so you can turn into the next right or left that you had to get to so fast.
And then we're all at the same red light.
And this isn't just a New England thing; it's a Southern thing. It's everyone. There's bad drivers
wherever there are poor / redneck people.
But the most bad drivers, by the way, Massachusetts.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was driving through. This whole thing I've been thinking about has been because I had to drive through Massachusetts 3 times recently.
What makes you think rich people are somehow good drivers?
Well, they have other things to entertain them, so they don't have to do poor activities.
Activities.
I think bad road etiquette exists across the economic spectrum. People get road rage no matter how wealthy they are. There's more coming up here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can join us here. Bring up whatever you want. We still got to get to the cow gas on the way. It's Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. UK Prime Minister Liz Truss has lost another member of her cabinet as she herself faces pressure to resign. Suella Braverman's stepped down as Interior Minister over a security breach. Liz Truss is facing calls to quit after a mini-budget that spooked financial markets and a series of U-turns. Our UK correspondent Ollie Barrett reports.
Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, has resigned over the sending of an official document from her personal email. She has done so in a blistering resignation letter which criticises the government, particularly over migration policy. But Braverman's resignation comes just days after the Finance Minister, Kwasi Kwarteng, was moved aside following a mini-budget that spooked financial markets. Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper addressed the news in the House of Commons.
This is utter chaos.
There are plots very much underway in the Conservative Party to try and remove Liz Truss as leader, but a divided party is struggling to come up with a plan to move her aside and replace her that enough Conservative MPs could get behind.
The French Prime Minister has forced her government's budget bill through Parliament by deploying a rarely used special constitutional tool, a move which has angered opposition politicians. Ross Cullen reports from Paris.
The French government was forced into this manoeuvre using a special constitutional instrument to bypass Parliament because Emmanuel Macron's party doesn't have a majority of MPs in Parliament, therefore doesn't have enough votes to pass legislation in the traditional manner. The opposition say they are going to launch no confidence votes in the government, but ministers say that 100 opposition amendments were included in the final budget bill.
As residents in the hurricane-hit US state of Florida continue to rebuild, they have another thing to worry about. Officials say that cases of flesh-eating bacteria are surging in the areas hardest hit by Hurricane Ian, including in Lee County, where the storm made landfall as a Category 4. Here's our US correspondent, Tony Waterman.
Officials in Lee County say they've recorded 29 cases of the flesh-eating bacteria and 4 deaths. All but 2 of the infections were detected after Hurricane Ian made landfall late last month. Flesh-eating bacteria thrives in warm, brackish floodwaters, like that left behind by Ian's massive storm surge. The bacteria enter the body through open wounds and can lead to sepsis. The CDC says around 1 in 5 patients dies. Officials in Florida are urging residents to avoid any standing water.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. Going to get into the cow, gas, farts, breath, whatever. All the things coming out of cows apparently are bad. according to some people.
According to the government, according to the greenies, according to the climate change activists, it's not a good thing because methane is bad, 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 bad.
Even though we know that nitrates are bad and cow poop could get rid of us having to use nitrate or
about fertilizers?
Fertilizers.
Hello, Netherlands. They're getting rid of they're decreasing their nitrate intake and outtake.
Nice.
And that's why the farmers are revolting there as we speak, by the way.
Well, they need to get over that and start regenerative farming.
You're saying the farmers want to use the...
because it's the only way to force plants to grow way past what they naturally should grow. And
it's a necessary fertilizer. If you cut the nitrates out, you can't grow crap.
I mean, aren't nitrates natural? Like, isn't that part of nature?
Not if it gets in the water and starts killing people.
Yes, it naturally comes, but it's ultimately you can get the most of it from dug minerals out of the ground, fertilizers out of the ground.
Yeah, fertilizers just got natural products.
That's the easiest way to get it, and that's the most potent way to use it. But yes, it is natural. It's in manure.
Okay.
But the Netherlands are having their day right now. Did you have something you wanted to speak on?
No, wanted to get into this cow thing.
Well, this is just one other. So I was talking about the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. Their farmers are
still protesting out there.
Oh yeah, they're having their day because of this new nitrate regulations. Mm-hmm. But there are other governments who are trying their best to basically take away your meat and doing this in the name of climate change, so that in the next couple of years, next 10 years, whatever, everyone's eating bugs. So what country am I talking about? Well, of course, it's lockdown New Zealand. Mm-hmm. The government there has pledged to reduce methane emissions from farm animals by up to 47% by 2050.
It's just crazy to think that animals living on the earth are bad for the environment.
Well, the argument is that cows are especially bad because of their four-stomach system. They're probably the most, they produce the most methane out of any agricultural animal.
Their four-stomach system is what gives them the ability to turn things that have no nutrients available for humans into a nutrient-dense cow.
You mean like grass?
Grass and
weeds.
Especially
when you deal with, like, for example, our Midwest. You have acres, thousands of acres of land that can't be used for anything, mm-hmm. and you've got you've got grazing animals, goats, sheep, cows that can take advantage of this. And not only can they do a good job of cropping this unuseful material, mm-hmm. but then they turn around and they fertilize it as well, and so they can turn some of these barren fields into some really nice real estate.
That's what I'm talking about.
But they step on tortoises, and so we can't have them. Oh, and snails. And that was the whole Ammon Bundy thing, where they took away their water source because they were protecting the stupid tortoise.
I just think it's interesting that you've got this group of greenies who, on one hand, would probably be all about animal rights, attacking the cow and saying, this animal, we don't want to have this one around. We need to exterminate the cow, right? They just want to get rid of cows.
Well, they end up,
put them in a zoo.
Especially when it comes to like PETA, where they're constantly actually killing dogs and cats.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
And throwing them in dumpsters. Because it's better just to kill them than to actually find someone to raise and adopt them.
That's what I think is weird about the whole pug situation. People say that it's immoral to have a pug because pugs were bred to be cute little pugs.
They messed that up.
Yeah, Ian thinks they're ugly, but I think they're cute.
Pugs are ugly.
Not only are they ugly, but they have a low lifespan because they can't breathe.
Yeah, they can't breathe because of the way they were bred to look.
That is immoral.
And I don't think it's immoral for them to exist.
I think it's immoral.
So should you kill them? Should you kill them because they exist?
Stop breeding them. Which, by the way, is the argument that these greenies have. It's like we don't want to kill your cows. We just don't want you to raise anymore.
Okay.
But they actually, when it came to the Ammon Bundy, they were actually up there with helicopters and they were shooting cow.
Wow.
I don't think purposely
who were trespassing on federal land.
Property.
Yeah.
I don't think purposely breeding more pugs is like a moral thing to do and nice, but if two pugs want to have sex and you don't stop them, do you think it's just like that shouldn't exist and we should kill it? No, I don't think so.
I would say raising pugs, specifically to raise a pug, is as immoral as incest. It's nasty.
You mean
Stop
breeding,
doing it.
like to make them?
Breeding
animals in
bad
general is
breeding.
bad. You shouldn't really breed. I mean, breeding dogs and cats in general is bad.
There are some incredibly useful dogs out there, like cattle dogs, who know how to herd cows.
But just for pets, like I don't know, Chihuahuas and stuff like that. Just love a mutt. Mutts are better than like a little teacup Chihuahua.
And they're usually healthier too.
Yeah, and healthier.
That's right.
And smarter and cuter.
Because they're not being inbred.
This is true. Yeah. Stop the incest. Stop the breeding.
But you're right. There's some types of like hounds and stuff that probably need to be bred into being hounds, but they probably don't have to do it incestuously.
And you too, eugenicists, go away. We don't want you manipulating our DNA to try to make super Aryans or whatever you want us to be. Bill Gates.
So what's the story about the cows here?
New Zealand's government on Tuesday proposed taxing the greenhouse gases that farm animals make from burping and peeing as part of a plan to tackle climate change. The government said the farm levy would be a world first and that farmers should be able to recoup the cost by charging more climate-friendly products. But farmers quickly condemned the plan. Federated Farmers, the industry's main lobby group, said the plan would rip the guts out of small town New Zealand and see farms replaced with trees.
Yeah, it's clear what they're trying to do here. They're trying to put the beef business out of business.
Well, I mean, they want to reduce methane emissions by 47%.
Yeah, that means reduce the cows by 47%.
How else do you do that? There is no other option except in my next article that talks about cow masks, which might actually do it, but someone is going to make a lot of money selling
They're going to put masks on cows? That's just horrible.
Sounds really bad.
That's really mean.
It's really bad. Federated Farmers President Andrew Hoggard said farmers had been trying to work with the government for more than 2 years on an emissions reductions plan that can't work unless you put masks on them, that wouldn't decrease food production. Quote, our plan was to keep farmers farming, Hoggard said. Instead, he said farmers would be selling their farms so fast you won't even hear the dogs barking on the back of the ute. This must be New Zealand talk. A ute is a pickup truck.
Oh,
you won't even hear the dogs barking on the back of the ute as they drive off.
Wow.
Opposition
who's going to buy it? Who's going to want to buy a farm at that point?
The government, so they can grow trees.
Or so they can put their factories there to put their way more profitable than regular farming fake meat products.
Unless there's some minerals underneath that we don't know about, that they want to mine. Opposition lawmakers from the conservative ACT Party said the plan would actually increase worldwide emissions by moving farming to other countries that were less efficient at making food. That's a good point. New Zealand's farming industry is vital to its economy. Dairy products, including those used to make infant formula in China, are the country's largest export earner. There are just 5 million people in New Zealand, but some 10 million beef and dairy cattle and 26 million sheep. Holy crap.
Yeah, the movie Babe, I'm just Googling it to make sure, but I think the movie Babe is set there, where it's a
pig?
cow or pig that lives on a sheep farm.
The outsized industry has made New Zealand unusual in that about half of its greenhouse gas emissions come from farms. Yeah, I think in our country, I think it's like 40% of methane is from cows, and they never talk about where it really comes from, the automobile. But they're good.
Methane?
Sure, I think it's part of the exhaust. If I'm not mistaken.
I don't know a lot about that.
Farm animals produce gases that warm the planet, all right, I guess, particularly methane that cattle burp and nitrous oxide from urine. The debate in New Zealand is part of a broader global reckoning about farming's impact on the environment and the steps some say are needed for mitigation.
It does say here, methane does come out of the exhaust of passenger cars.
Well, I wonder what percentage of the...
That's a good question.
Total
here,
product.
If you want to join us in the remaining moments of Free Talk Live, is 603-283-6160. More coming up. Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com. which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month. And you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast, or find us on the major podcast platforms.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Moments remain. Maybe time for you if you join us now. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And the internet gods have blessed us
in the last 10 minutes.
Literally, in the last moments of the last segment, our internet connection cleared up. And now you radio listeners who've been suffering, if you stayed and listened to us, Goddess bless you for sticking with us here tonight on the radio, because it has been brutal.
Catch us on the podcast. It's clean. It's clean.
Maybe it was just like the time of day. Like maybe a lot of people were using it. A lot of people went to sleep.
No, that doesn't make any sense, because we've got a dedicated bandwidth here, Bonnie. We've got what they call fiber. And so fiber isn't a shared connection like cable modems are or whatever. And so we get plenty of bandwidth. Bandwidth wasn't the issue. The issue was something somewhere on the internet was really just effing up our connection right until the last 10 minutes. So anyway, number 603-283-6160. Conan, you're telling us about this new program they're trying to shove down farmers' throats. New tax. Program's not the right word for it.
Yeah, in the name of climate change. Of course, we know what this is really leading to. Less cows. More bugs.
More expensive meat.
More expensive meat. The only people who can afford meat are persons like this, Prime Minister Jacinda.
Oh, that woman. She's scary.
She's a horrible woman.
Yep.
If you psychopath in the dictionary,
that's her.
Picture Jacinda sitting next to it.
She is nuts. And she was one of the total tyrants when it came to the COVID.
Her and New South Wales. Real close to each other, by the way. They're total lockdown, total nut jobs. So anyways,
she's scary looking with her. She's all teeth.
Yeah, she's got a weird mouth.
Yeah, like maybe she's got a reptile underneath there or something.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister said all the money collected from the proposed farm levy would be put back into the industry to fund new technology, research, and incentive payments for the farmers.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be given. Why would they want to take their own money? Why would they need to take their own money back from the government? It's
because the central planners, the government knows how the farmers should be spending their money in order to reduce methane, except exactly how does this work? What can the government do except take your cows away from you to reduce the methane production by 47%? There's no other way. There's no other option.
The money isn't going back. Cows. The money isn't going back to the industry. If anything, what's going to happen is the money will be collected by the state of New Zealand. They will take a huge cut off the top for their bureaucracy and pay all of their bureaucrats. And then if they give anything back to quote unquote the industry, it will be the politically connected.
It will be the lobbies.
People.
It will be yes, exactly. So every
the bug farmers, they're going to get it.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Here's another option. And of course, these are
the tofu people.
Here are the people you say who are going to get a cut of this.
Yeah.
This money, this levy. A British startup company is unveiling the latest in face mask designs for cows.
Just what everybody's been needing. The product that we've really been needing to make our lives all better.
What is that supposed to do?
Zelp Ltd, a UK-based technology firm, has developed a mask to capture methane emitted from cows breathing or burping. With a staged goal of reducing global warming, the company claims the masks are capable of reducing cattle methane emissions by 60%.
Are they going to use that methane to do something like power some kind of an electric
I'm sure
plant?
There's some kind of filter in there that's collecting it. If it's working at all.
If they're collecting it, can't they do something with it, like make it into a power plant? No, I really don't think this is right, though. I think it's rude.
That's actually a good question. And maybe you can use it as a fertilizer. I don't know. The strap-on mask is designed to be adjusted for head size and captures methane at the nostrils when the cow exhales. The gas is channeled towards an oxidization mechanism inside the mask apparatus, which contains a mini catalytic converter that breaks the methane into carbon dioxide and water and expels it from the device.
Well, what about when they inhale?
Hey, I don't know.
If they exhale, it goes through there.
This thing might not even work, but I know when these companies see free money, they'll create anything. By the way, let me show you a picture of this. It looks like have you seen Dune? Any iteration?
I've seen the previews for it.
Basically, it looks like one of those the Fremen Dune
It looks
Dune
like
apparatuses.
Bane. It looks like a cow with a Bane mask from Batman.
Yeah, these are the people who are going to get your money. This is the UK. They actually haven't started taxing their farmers yet. For methane production, there's every government out there is talking about a carbon tax, because that's just the next tax. That's the means of control. But this is all, and it's all in the name of climate change, in order to get you living in pods, get you eating the bugs.
Well, I know I didn't like wearing, the few times that I had to wear a mask during COVID. I had to go into a bank a few times, and I had to go on an airplane once. I wore it below my nose on the airplane, so it wasn't that bad there. But I hated wearing these masks.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Can
you imagine a dumb cow who's just trying to get by and eat some grass?
I just want to breathe.
And this is worse than that, Ian. This isn't just a mask like they were putting on people.
Yeah,
this
I see
is
the
a
picture
plastic metal looks even worse. It looks like it's up in their
It
nostrils.
just sits on top of their nostrils, it looks like.
I've seen a couple different variations. Some of them are just art. They're just designs from the artist. Who knows if these things even exist? But it's just another money grab. It's another money scheme. They see money. They see stimulus, climate change stimulus money that's just being handed out. Just thrown out of the wheelbarrow.
Well, they know that if the New Zealand government implements this tax, any farmer that wants to stay in business is going to start buying these things. I mean, that's the money grab
Hopefully,
here.
animal rights activists will say something about this, because this isn't.
But that's the conflict. Is the animal rights activists are likely the same people who are afraid of climate change
and try to protect the tortoise.
Oh God.
Some animals have more rights than others. See.
Wow. I think that's actually in a book somewhere.
There is a book about Animal Farm.
Animal
Didn't
Farm?
it say that?
Absolutely. That was the whole premise.
Yeah. Let's go to the phones here. We've got Greg on the line in New York. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, I remembered what I wanted to talk to you about. So you don't need to reduce cows by 40%. Have you guys heard of the seaweed in Australia that cuts down emissions by 98%, 95 to 98%?
Cuts down what emissions?
Is it because they eat it as food?
Yes, the cows eat the seaweed, and they don't emit methane anymore.
Huh.
Is it good for them, or are there any other repercussions that have been studied?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, how does the beef taste? Wait. How do you know this? And these lobbyists, these farmers in Jacinda don't know about this.
They're in New Zealand. How can they not know? They're like right there.
I know, right?
Probably not as profitable.
Google seaweed, cows, Australia.
Maybe it's because it's not even about profits, it's about control.
Does it change the taste of the meat if they're eating seaweed all the time?
They probably taste like fish
Yeah,
afterwards.
They're not supposed to live in the ocean.
I don't know, but for whatever reason, it hasn't caught on. It's been around. I've heard of this for like 5 years now, and I really.
Do they dry it out? Like, what do they do with the seaweed? Because obviously the cow's probably not going to eat it underwater.
Have you never eaten seaweed yourself? They make seaweed wraps.
Yeah. I know. I've made the
It's got to be the same thing.
Do you know?
And
Greg?
I think if you give them the seaweed, they could still eat the other stuff, and somehow the seaweed neutralizes.
Cancels it. That's cool. Thank you for the call tonight, man. I appreciate the info. David is in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, Conan, that's a catalytic converter.
It's a good one.
Nice.
Good one.
Nice.
What else?
Yeah. We need out here in the country. We need cameras that take pictures of when the cows fart and make all that noise. The camera takes pictures, sends it to the rancher, and charges fines the rancher so he comes out and makes his cows stop farting because it's really annoying.
Tell Sarah, and she'll lobby the politicians,
Yeah,
and then she'll get them.
Please don't.
Yeah. Well, the best idea is we get rid of the 90 million cattle in the U.S. and then put the 60 million bison back out roaming everywhere, tearing down everything.
That's a good question. What is their methane output?
Were they destroying the planet
They're just
and the
basically they
environment?
got four stomachs too. They're the same same mechanisms, right?
They don't taste the same.
Same animal. Yeah.
I've had bison burger. It's good.
Yeah, they just don't taste the same.
Well, no, but it's not bad.
Remember, I made those tacos out of them.
Yeah, but the thing is about the bison is they were made to live out there in the plains. They were developed over thousands of years at least, probably hundreds of thousands of years to actually live out there. And here we have these stupid cows. I agree with that. I think that's a good idea. But you know what?
How many bison are left?
Bison, they were, I think, going extinct at one time. The cattle industry or the bison industry is going leaps and bounds at the moment.
Really?
Oh yeah, just Google bison. I want to buy some bison burgers, and these guys can't raise enough.
They can't stock it fast enough.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So that's an up and coming industry.
Is it a more quality meat than a cow meat?
Not sure.
Okay.
I am not sure. Basically, when it comes to any kind of meat, it's what they eat.
Garbage in, garbage out, right?
You can eat one deer that lived in one part of the forest. It's going to taste completely different than the deer on the other side of the forest, depending on what they were eating.
Out of time for tonight. Thank you, David, for your call, and we will return tomorrow night. You can join us online in the meantime, any old time you want, over at freetalklive.com. Don't forget our social media site. You can interact with Conan's on there and other hosts and other listeners at social.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism